What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. We are live breaking down Game 30 of the regular season as the Toronto Maple Leafs come out here tonight and dominate the Anaheim Ducks, winning 7-0 in this one, going to 19-5-6 on the season. I believe this is now 15 consecutive games with at least a point. This team is absolutely rocking right now. You remember that game against Arizona earlier in the year? The Leafs came out, they were minus 450, minus 500 favorites, and everyone was like, well, there's no way this Leafs team could lose to the Arizona Coyotes, and then they did. And then you come out here tonight, you're looking at the odds earlier today, you're looking at a matchup against an Anaheim Ducks team that has won one game in 29 regulation games coming into tonight. A Leafs team that was so hot you couldn't even touch them. Mitch Marner was on a crazy point streak, and you're sitting there going, is this the spot? Is this where the Leafs lose this? Is this where it goes off the rails? No, it is not. This Leafs team is serious. This Leafs team is different than teams in the past, and this Leafs team is even different from the team we saw at the beginning of the year. There is a different mentality around them. There's a different aura, a different way that they play the game night in, night out. They came out here tonight. They said, Anaheim, we don't care that this screams trap game. We don't care that this is a spot that we would typically let the fans down, let bettors down, let the media down, and give talking points to every single person in the NHL for tomorrow morning against a crappy team where we would either struggle to beat them or lose in some devastating fashion. This Leafs team said, not tonight. We are going to steamroll them. In the words of Herb Brooks, not this game, not tonight. This Leafs team came out, and although Anaheim did have a couple chances early on, Samsonov coming up huge with a breakaway save after the third Leafs goal, where the Leafs had just made it 3-0. I believe it was in the second period, earlier on in the second period. Outside of that, this Leafs team basically just took over. I mean, you're looking at couple goals from Kerfoot tonight, a goal from John Tavares, a goal from Bunting, goal from Joey Anderson and Pierre Engvall. Like, you had a bunch of guys participate in the offense tonight. You had a bunch of guys creating things, and Mike Johnson even said it. I thought it might have been a little bit of a stretch, but I just kind of sat back, appreciated what we witnessed in the game, and was like, you know what? This guy was right. Austin Matthews put on a Selke-worthy performance defensively tonight, and you know how much press it's going to get tomorrow? 0. Now, I'm not saying this Leafs team deserves more press by any stretch of the imagination. They get enough of that on their own. They generate enough of that on their own. But man, Austin Matthews walks away from this one not having scored a goal in this game. And I mean, what a performance from him defensively, even just creating opportunities for this team, creating chances like off of defensive plays. The guy was on fire tonight. He was an absolute weapon. If you guys are here right now and you are new to this stream, please hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button as well. Let's see if we can maybe get to 100 likes by the end of this stream. I know there's only 50 people watching, but the more the people like it, the more that people subscribe to this channel, the more people that we can get in here watching this live, participating in the community. If anybody wants to call in here tonight, please let me know. We'll get the Discord link in the chat, in the description. You guys can message me on there. I'll send a link to join, and people can call into the show. We take calls all the time. But before we go any further here, we do have a super chat from our guy, Maxentius Decimus. Thank you, Max, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Max sang with a few colorful emojis in there, so respects to those. But Max saying, Leafs will lose to the Ducks. LOL. Foot and Giraffe, Kerfoot and Engvall in quotations and I took that personally. Little Michael Jordan meme there. Took that one personally, but hey, I mean, it's always nice to be able to see your lower tier players or guys who have been struggling a little bit be able to get on the board. I don't care that this Anaheim team is brutal. Now, you can't walk away from this and make incredible, insightful judgments about what this team is or what that they could be. Or even what these players could be. But it is very, very nice to be able to see those guys get on the board, because sometimes you just need to see the puck go in the net. This is Kerfoot's, I believe, first goal that he scored not on an empty netter since the very beginning of the season. He scored, what was it? An empty netter in the second game against Dallas. That's what it was. So he scored early on in the game against Dallas, and then he scored another one in an empty netter against Dallas. So he basically scored twice on empty netters against Dallas, and then now he's only scored against 2 teams in the NHL, but he still manages to get 4 goals on the season, and seeing 2 go past the goaltender, actually, he's got to be feeling pretty good about that. So I am glad that they had something to say. But Alex Kerfoot right now, after this game, Alex Kerfoot is
having the time of his life.
Yes, Alex Kerfoot is most definitely having the time of his life. I'm seeing people talking about where to stream games from. I will not say. I don't want to worry about any bans, but if you guys are looking for post-game streams, reactions, all that kind of stuff, you can find it here on this channel, and you can get notified of these streams when they go live by hitting subscribe, hitting that bell, turning on notifications so that you get notified every single time we go live, every time videos are posted, anything like that. You'll find it here on this channel, so make sure to hit like on this stream, hit subscribe on this channel, and click that bell so you get notified every time new content comes out on the Leafs Digest channel. We'll get into a lot of the different stuff that went on here tonight, but if there's things chat wants to talk about, make sure to bring them up. Let me know your thoughts on the game, and if anyone wants to call in, as always, the lines are open, so you guys can send me a message, and we'll get people on the call. We can get people in the stream letting us know what they thought. Let's start with the third line. Pierre Engvall, Alex Kerfoot, both managing to get on the board here tonight. And that line looked good. I think that one of the concerns for Sheldon Keefe was going to be throughout this season as it went along, that third line needed that little bit of oomph. It needed something to put them over the top, to differentiate themselves from a line that maybe could be a fourth line or should be a fourth line. I mean, you look around the league and you can see solid fourth lines that get run out there and they don't really allow goals against. I mean, you look at teams that have competed in the past or teams that are going to be competitive this year for sure. And these are teams that their fourth lines aren't necessarily contributors. And we kind of got to a point where we had 2 of them. The fourth line for us wasn't really scoring, and then neither was the third line. And it was something where I said on a stream in the past, like, I think that once that third line scores and can figure out how to score, they will be exceptional. Right now, they were very good. Now, hopefully this can continue and isn't a little blip on the radar, but hopefully this can continue. It's just, you kind of need them to be able to continue to contribute. And one thing that allows is for you to not have to worry about maybe 3 players that you need at the deadline. I think right now their top priority is going to be a top 6 forward to slot in on that JT and Marner line. Not really that they need the help, but more in terms of a guy who can be an impact maybe draw some of the attention away from those two guys when it comes around to playoff time. I think the guy for me that's top of my list is Timo Meier. Is a physical guy. Last year of his deal, $7 million contract. I think that there is opportunity for him to maybe come in here and be a big impact player. I think he's probably going to get moved at the deadline if he doesn't want to extend in San Jose. So, well, it'll be interesting to see, but it's just, I think that those guys scoring maybe gives you a little bit more confidence in them and makes you kind of feel like, hey, we don't have as much tinkering to do when it comes time. We don't have as much tinkering to do when we get to the trade deadline or the month before when Kyle Dubas typically makes his moves. So you start to get some secondary scoring. You start to get some of that from your depth guys, from the guys lower down in the lineup, and all of a sudden you can start to feel more comfortable. Maybe they can start to build up some chemistry. We saw last year different points in time where it was like Kampf, Mikheyev, Kasha, Kampf, Mikheyev, Engvall, like things rolling through there. But as they stayed together, they built up chemistry. They started to feel comfortable together. They started to get to a point where they could contribute offensively. They were very, very trusted. Now, I will be honest, I would never, ever in my life give Ilya Mikheyev the money that they gave him. And I'm okay with letting him leave. It's the same argument as Lyubushkin. Would I have liked to have the guy back? Yeah, probably. Would I have liked to have Mikheyev back? Probably. But would I pay them that price? 0% chance. Like actual 0% chance. So you let those guys walk and you see what you can do to replace them internally. How can you find that scoring elsewhere? That line, they started to build chemistry last year. They started to become this actual threat of a line. Now, it didn't really pan out when it came playoff time, but I think we're seeing a line this year that if they can continue to stay together, maybe, just maybe, there's a way for them to have some type of impact when things get gritty. And the other thing on top of that is if you no longer have to worry about your third line or your fourth line, then you start to go, okay, let's just make the second line better. And by default, it makes everyone else better because you can push people down. You can reorganize things. You can kind of start to figure some of that out. You're not really just putting lipstick on a pig anymore if you're actually making it better. A lot of that will be quite interesting to see how they go about it. I'm seeing, one thing I see in the chat here. I do want to address this. I think that move by Kyle Dubas to acquire Connor Timmins was very smart. And yes, he is an RFA, or he is on an expiring contract. I believe it's an RFA at the end of this season. So you got to figure out a way to sign him if you want him back. But I strongly believe that there was long-term plans when that deal for Connor Timmins was made. I think that when they made that, they had the foresight to say, this player is a guy that we actually see being here, being with this team for an extended period of time. I think they feel like he could take steps if he can stay healthy. And we saw here tonight, 3 assists, +2. I mean, it's not hard to be a plus in a game like this here tonight. Plays 18 minutes of ice time. And you're looking at the defenseman here tonight, like TJ Brody, 21 minutes. Timmins, 18. Sandin, 20-57. Gio, 18. Hall, 18. Liljegren, 18-20. You're already starting to see, now mind you, it was a game against Arizona in which we had, or Anaheim, in which we had a big lead and we controlled the play for the majority of the game. So you're not really worrying about what's going to happen, kind of, can we let these guys out on the ice? But you are starting to see a little bit of a shuffle. Rasmus Sandin getting power play minutes is obviously going to boost some of his ice time, but you can start to kind of tell there's a little bit of trust and confidence, not only going to the legs of Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren, but going to the coach. Sheldon Keefe, the other assistant coaches are looking down this bench, looking at Liljegren, looking at Sandin, and going, those two guys can log more minutes. Those two guys can be trusted in more difficult situations. They can play special teams, power plays, penalty kills. They can go out there. Now, the fact that they picked up Connor Timmins less than a month ago, or about a month ago now at this point, and he's sliding in playing second power play, and he's actually ripping pucks. Like, he looks like he's actually doing pretty well out there. He looks comfortable. He doesn't look out of place at all. I think that they're looking at some of these young guys and being like, all right, we can elevate you a little bit, and let's see what you do with that. Now, take all of this with a little bit of grain of salt, because you're looking at them playing against a not very good Anaheim team in which they held possession of the game, essentially, not even just the puck, but like the game. They dominated the game, the play of the game for a good period of time. You can basically say like, all right, let's see what these guys can do. And they obviously are trusting him. I think that this is, I think it's next steps really, like where it's maybe we can get some of these guys to filter in and actually be valuable pieces. Now, I'm not sure if people saw the other day the player cards that Dom from The Athletic had put out. He puts out player cards regarding market value of players. I'm going to see what I can do to pull these ones up on screen right now, because I think people are going to have an absolute heyday with these. But like you're looking at two guys who got signed on insane value deals with this Leafs team this summer, and I guess basically at the beginning of the season. And there was a prayer, essentially. Can these guys become players? Can these guys be impactful? This is what Rasmus Sandin has clocked in at so far to start this season. A $1.4 million salary is what he's playing for, and a $9.3 million market value, aka suggesting he should be getting paid $9.3 million. Now, the other guy, not far off. Timothy Liljegren, $1.4 million salary, $9.1 million market value. Basically saying Kyle Dubas is signing these two guys, as Jeff McBride in the chat is saying there. Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren as well. Easy plus EV. Like, great expected value on these guys. They basically said, they held pat and said, this is what these guys, we're going to pay you. We think you can be better players, but let's see how this goes. This is basically these cards that Dom makes are evaluations of what they should be based on production, level of play, their impact on a game, their offensive, the defensive impacts on a game based on shift, based on per 60, how they impact special teams, all that kind of stuff. And it's basically saying like, these are the kind of valuations they should be at based on the actual level of output from these players. So you're looking at those two guys, and whether or not it's actually should be $9.3 million, you're basically looking at, you're getting way more value out of them than the $1.3 and $1.4 million that they're making. That's the overall thing here. I watch this team. I watch some of the moves that have been made. I watch people slot into this. It's something I said this morning when I was doing the betting show that I was on, the hockey betting show. Said like, the difference with this Leafs team, and it's something I said on streams before, but they look like they're playing the right way. And I think some of that becomes evident here tonight when also, just to quickly address 6 1/3 saying, Zach, that's like $2 million less than Austin. Yes, I know, $2 million less than what Austin is making. If you look at Austin's market value based on Dom's cards, $19.3 million market value, I believe, is what it was. It's basically saying like this guy deserves to be getting paid significantly more money. Connor McDavid was at like $21 million. So yeah, that's kind of where some of that was at. But it's more just on what you can or what you basically should, these guys should be making for what their contracts are relative to other people. So 6 1/3 saying Dubas published those stats. But I mean, yeah, fair enough. But also, like, based on these guys, their way that they've actually been impacting games, they are significantly more valuable than the contracts that they're getting. Like, let's not be selling them short. But this Leafs team, they look very different than the Leafs teams we've seen in years past. They play a full 60 minutes. Even if they don't play 60 minutes, it's not like they're taking a period off or 10 minutes off. There might be a 3 to 5 minute blip on the radar where they basically just aren't playing that great. But then all of a sudden they get it back. Then they turn it around. That is the difference. Also, shout out Jeff McBride. Completely correct here. 130 plus people watching this right now, only 37 likes. Please, if you guys are here right now, smash the like button. Hit subscribe on this channel. We're about 25 subs away from 3,000. So if you guys could help us get us there, 21 subs away from 3,000. So if you guys could help us get us there today, that would be greatly appreciated. We're very, very close. So if there's people here watching and you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you are watching and you are not signed in on an account, but you come back regularly, if you could just go create an account real quick, hit subscribe on this channel, that would go a long way as well. So thank you to everyone for the support. But this also just goes and plays into the factor that This is a game. This is a team. This is a game where you play against Anaheim, you play against a crappy team, and you play down to their level. The Leafs didn't do that. You blow out the bad teams. You've got the same roster that you've had basically for the last entire run. In fact, you've actually improved a little bit because you got Engvall back here tonight, which is a step up on Simmons. You got TJ Brody back for the last couple of games. Like, this team technically is getting better from the run that they were already on. And this coaching staff, this management group has been playing it perfectly. Let's not bring TJ Brody back and throw him out there for 24 minutes the first night he's back. You bring TJ Brody back and you roll him out there for 18 minutes in the first game. You put him on a pair with Connor Timmins, and then you slowly elevate. Okay, now let's get him to 19. Let's get him to the 20, then you can push past that. That's the way to bring him back. That is the proper way to bring him back. That's the way to ease him into this team, too. You're not force-feeding the guy into the lineup, and it also sends the message to the rest of the guys like, you're playing well and you deserve minutes. These guys are coming back. It's very obvious people have to go, but we're not going to rip those minutes away from you because somebody's back. We're not going to all of a sudden make Connor Timmins play 6 to 8 minutes a night because TJ Brody's back in the lineup, or slide down the 2 and the 1 pair to like that 15 to 18 minute mark immediately. Now, they are kind of nearing the 18 minutes a night at this point, but it was a gradual process. You kind of ease one guy in and ease some of the other guys out. And then that way it creates a little bit of a balance, starts to even some things out, and gives people a little bit of comfortability coming back into the lineup fresh. As far as uh, I see Phenom here saying, saw a report that salary cap only going up a little. I did not see that. I'm not going to lie. I've been listening and watching a whole bunch of stuff, trying to figure out, reading some different things. I was seeing reports that the salary cap could go up anywhere between 1 to 3 million for next season, and then would go up between 3 to 4 the year after that, and then another 3 to 4 the year after that. We could be looking at about $6 to $8 million increase on the salary cap within the next 2 years, and then 10 plus the year after that. But yeah. So also, I'm seeing Masidakis. I did not see Bruins as a top contender, but I feel they're due for a slump. Well, I didn't see them as a top contender either necessarily. I kind of figured they would probably slot in around top wildcard spot, bottom of East, maybe. I thought Florida would be better. I just didn't think they'd be as bad as they are, really. But as far as, they're due for a slump goes, yeah, be careful with that kind of statement, because look what we're watching night in, night out. If you're going to sit here and tell me that Boston is due for a slump, it would be very easy to, on the flip side of that, have to say, well, guess who else is due for that as well? So, I mean, good for Boston. Maybe they slow down a little bit, but let's not pray for any slumps for anybody, because I don't want that bad karma coming back the other way. But right now on the line, RJWI in the chat, Rob on the call. Rob, how you feeling after tonight's game?
Pretty good, Zach. How's it going with you?
Pretty good. I was a little bit nervous today. It was a weird feeling, and it was because I feel like in years past, and even at the beginning of the season, that game against Arizona, I will be completely honest, like, I talked to people before that game, and I just said, if you're gonna bet on this game tonight, like, I would bet on the Coyotes. That's the spot to be on tonight. And they obviously ended up losing to Arizona. You go into a night like tonight, and it's kind of like, I probably would just stay off this one, because the Leafs' history made me a little bit nervous going into it. But the way that they've been playing lately was kind of that, I don't know if I would necessarily put this on Anaheim and expect anything out of them tonight. So it was a weird vibe kind of day, but obviously pretty happy with a 7-0 win.
I feel on my side, maybe I'm overconfident. I feel like based on when I called on in I guess a couple of weeks ago, I'm just I'm not overconfident, but they're just playing really well. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Whatever past history is, I feel is in the past for a reason, and I see them continuing on the trend that they're going on right now. And that was my opinion going into this game. I didn't really have any second guesses, just based on so many factors. Some which you've mentioned on the chat, or sorry, the chat mentioned, and you mentioned as well on the call tonight. I see them beating almost everyone. And I know that it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but it just there's so many factors that are contributing, such as team defense, as we know. They highlighted on the TSN interview as well, the back checking when you're up, by 5 goals. It's like there's
Yeah.
this team mentality. So just as one example right there, they're scoring, all the big guys are scoring. There's just so many uh, I guess so many factors that are combining to contribute to a win. And so I see a lot of good going on right now. I wanted to also bring up a couple things in terms of what your thoughts are on next steps. I know when I called in last time, we talked about getting a stud defenseman. I think my mind has changed a little bit since then as well. And there's still some gaps, but I want to get your thoughts maybe on defense. I feel effectively Holland, Giordano. being I guess when everyone's healthy, really being the third pair at the end of the day, right? That's what we're
Yeah.
looking at. And then Sandine and Liljegren be on second, having Riley and Brody back together. I feel like they've all grown in this period of being missing these key kind of contributors on the defensive end, and they've grown a lot. And I can kind of see it working well moving forward after everyone comes back as well. So just your thoughts on that. I just don't see them really trading for defensemen, and I don't see a need for it. I mean, obviously there's a long season to go, but yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that.
I'm in a weird spot with it. I think I kind of need to see all six guys back and playing
Same
before I
here.
can
Yeah, I
make
agree.
like the final, like, okay, my personal judgment on it. Now, obviously, that's not the point of the question, so I will answer it, but 100% agreed that Gio and Hall would go to the third pair. I think they would like to have Brody and Riley back together. And I think that this stretch, as you said, has seen so much growth that any doubts that they might have had prior to about Sandine or Liljegren, where you basically go, those guys need their partner beside them. They need Riley. They need Brody. They need Gio playing alongside them. You can take all of those statements and just throw it out the window.
Yeah,
Making them a solid tandem that can play together, that is legitimately a very good, very reliable D pair right now, solves so many issues that we might not have even known that they had. It just that
exactly.
coming in solves a lot. Now, Riley, Brody, I want to see them play together when they come back.
Yeah,
I have some hesitations about it, and it's not because of like who they are as players. It's more just because of what we've seen out of the two of them playing together very recently. So the recency bias of before they got injured is kind of like they weren't that great together before that happened. If they can get back to where they were when they started playing together, different story. A lot
last
of
year. Yeah, for
yes,
example.
a lot of
Yeah,
concerns are basically gone. Now, the one opinion, and I know people are not going to be happy about it, and I understand, and you can give me all the crap in the world. I'm going to still stand firm on it. I don't know where you stand on this, Rob, but I still think they need to upgrade on Justin Hall. I think he's a good. I think he'd be good for a 7. I think he's shown some confidence here.
yeah,
I think it's been good. I'm not going to sit here and just rip on the guy. I don't think he deserves that right now. I still would like to upgrade on him, and that's just kind of where I'm at with the D. I think if you can get an
yeah.
upgrade, you're in a much better, much more comfortable, confident position. That's just my personal opinion. That's all.
For sure. I get two things in terms of Hall. Yeah, he's definitely filled the shoes. He's played well. I we always joke with Gordon that that's his number. He's his number one fan, but
Yeah.
I still think the case is still there to potentially look for someone. The challenge I see there, Zach, is that the penalty kill, right shot D, size and physicality is kind of what the ticket they're looking for, and that's not really that easy to find.
No, it's not.
So it and what do you have to give up to get that if that's at the deadline as well?
Yeah.
So that's part of my I'm a little bit conflicted, I guess you could say, on that front. I do completely agree and acknowledge what you're saying, and I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to Justin Hall. But that's one thing I would think it'd be kind of hard to fill. Definitely, if we could fill it at a fairly reasonable price tag, I feel that would be an awesome option going to trade deadline. And I guess the second part, just to jump back to Riley, I'm kind of being a little bit optimistic as well on that front, but he's had a really terrible year defensively. We know that,
Yeah.
as far as statistics and his analytics go.
Yeah.
I think him being off right now, seeing how they're playing, will potentially shift his mentality when he gets back. That's actually, and maybe like a shot in the dark, but I really think that he may shift and kind of turn things around on the defensive end just by watching, just by seeing what the team's doing, and it's competitive, right? You're on a team, yes, but look at who's filled in. the gaps when we've been injured and how they're playing. So he needs to step up his game like Sandin, like Liljegren, like Hall, like
Yeah.
Giordano, and that may lead him to kind of we know that he's not a defensive defenseman to begin with. Like that's known for years from the beginning of time. But I think the team defense and I think the mentality of never giving up and back checking and really playing smart, like inside out hockey. I feel like he's going to come back and potentially bounce back on that front. That's maybe again maybe a hot take or whatever the case, but I agree with you just to see how Riley and Hull mesh back together. But I think it's pretty good chance that it should bounce back from the beginning of the year to now, hopefully.
No, I agree. I don't think it's a hot take. Yeah, just with the Hall thing, it's more, and you and I are both saying it, is like, if you can find that upgrade, I think you should do it. Again, I'm not trying to like rip on the guy. It's more just like, if you can find a way to make that better, if you can find a way to make it a little more reliable, like, you do so. I mean, Tampa goes out and gets a guy like Zach Bogosian out of Buffalo, and nobody really sees that coming. And all of a sudden, he's this steady force that John Cooper is in love with.
Yeah.
And he was a good ad, and he becomes their third pair, kind of sixth defenseman guy, and it's a good ad. And Luke Shen kind of goes there. He's their seventh D, but he rotates in and out every now and then, and it's a good ad. And those kind of guys might be even just a slight upgrade on him. But yeah, and then the other thing too, just kind of like the last point on the D front, is one thing I agree with you too on this, and I'm glad that Riley will be back. It seems like he'll be back early January, is we're going to get a bit of period of time to see what happens with him coming back in the lineup before any decisions have to be made ahead of the trade deadline, which I think is really helpful, because you can kind of get a bit in where you can see, okay, how's he reintegrating, all that kind of stuff. And to use the word again, but I think the reintegration of TJ Brody gives me a little bit of confidence in terms of how they're going to bring Morgan Riley and reintegrate him back into this, because I don't know if you like 100% agree, but it kind of was like a soft launch of TJ Brody back in the lineup. It was like, hey, we want you back. You're an incredible player, but like, you're not going out there and taking first pair spot from Gio right now. You're going to play on the third pair in the fifth spot with Connor Timmins, and you're going to play 16 minutes. And then he did well, and it was like, all right, upgrade to 17, 18, and now he's playing 20 plus now. And it's like, okay, slow but steady. You play those minutes in, you work for those minutes, you deserve those minutes. All right, we'll push you up there. And like, Connor Timmins just became a beneficiary of that, because guess what? He's playing well alongside TJ Brody. So you play well, he plays well, you both play well, and you both play a ton of minutes. It's kind of like hey, works out for you, kid.
It's a win-win, exactly. And I completely agree with you. I think he says it best where there's the physical and mental coming back from injury. I like that he has highlighted that on a couple of the returns of our players that have been injured, where physically doctors say, hey, okay, let's have 2 to 3 full practices and then get into a game, slowly increase minutes based on play and based on confidence as well, because there's a mental side, and I think he highlights that on a somewhat regular basis. So I'm on the same page with you when it comes to TJ Brody, and then obviously Morgan Riley jumping back into it. He was playing like 23 minutes approximately or on average, and him getting kind of back into a gradual integration makes complete sense to me.
I just saw I'm going to get to 2 super chats here, but before I do, I don't know if you just saw this. I saw very funny comments in the chat here. How outrageous would it be to try Morgan at second line left wing? LOL. Probably pretty outrageous, but I almost kind of want to see it. It's almost so outrageous, I'm like, let's give it a shot. What if you could just find that guy who's like your crazy internal upgrade, and he just happens to be your top pairing defenseman before?
I don't think that's happening.
I don't think so either. So 2 super chats. The first one, I don't have too many comments on. I want to get to it. The other one, I think it'll have a little bit more of a talking point. But first one here from Joe Hill. Thank you, Joe, for the super chat. Joe saying,
Joe's the man.
Joe is the man. Joe saying, this past summer, quotations, The Leafs are making a huge mistake not re-signing Jack Campbell, end quotations, dash Nick Kypreos. It was a statement from Nick Kypreos from this summer, and a bunch of laughing faces. Yes, that was, like, honestly, just pair that with Anthony Stewart saying Jack Campbell was going to win the Vezina this year, and then add on the fact that the Edmonton beat reporters were writing about how Toronto was scrambling with horrid goaltending decisions. And it's just kind of like, I kind of don't like it because I really like Jack. I just liked his personality and his energy here in Toronto. But it's almost just like, I just don't like Edmonton fans because I'm like, you literally have a team with 2 players. That's what you are. You are a 2-player team. And you've taken all these old Leafs, and then you just like rub it in our face that you have old Leafs, and you pay them way more than they made here in Toronto, and then they're doing like the same thing that they did here in Toronto, and then you have a couple of guys that go there and do less, and they're like rubbing it in our face that they have these guys. It's like, all right, like, I guess, but that combination, that storm of things for it to be going as poorly as it is for the people who made the statements that they did, I've enjoyed that. Not for Jack's sake, but just for those people who have said those things.
Agree. I was never a person that was upset that he left. Other than
no, get the money, man. Get the bag.
Other than his personality, right? And a great teammate. I loved his interviews, right?
Yeah.
Obviously not the times where he's down hard on himself, but in terms of a person and a teammate, the guy's top notch, right?
Yeah.
But I agree, we can't pay 5 at 5. I never was on the bandwagon like, oh, we have to, pay him, we have to keep him. I was okay with moving on. That's just my opinion. And secondly, I just say that I'm not sure if you watch it. Kipper and Bourne show's pretty good, and I think Kipper. I would say like he says some outlandish things time to time.
I heard he had one. I heard he had one yesterday. I don't know. I don't listen to it. I'm gonna hand up. I don't listen to it, but I saw some statements online that he had something to say yesterday about William Nylander.
Yeah, for sure. And he was going off, like, I don't watch the full, it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours, but I think what you're referring to was he's really stating that, referring to Keith's comment as it relates to him being like a top elite guy. Right. And he started saying like he could score 50 goals and this and that. And, trajectory this year is in the 40s, but it's a little stretch, right? It's kind of tough to say 50 goals for Nylander. But I think you and I think we're on the same page when it comes to the Leafs in general. But with Nylander, the consistency this year has been evident. He's grown a lot, even than prior years. And I can see 40 this year. He's just so casual, as we said. He has a swagger. He's making a difference. And then he's playing penalty kill. He's also doing some back checking and not really negatively impacting the defensive side of the game, which is a huge step. So I'm actually really high on him, but not to say the guy's going to score 50 goals. So I think that's what you're referring to, though.
Yes, it was that. Yeah, he was saying something about that, and then now again, I don't know the context because I did not watch it, but the thing that I was reading was saying that he said something about like the goals that Nylander scored against the Flames, he didn't even mean to score them, or like they were an accident or something. I was just like, what? Like, fair enough, but like, what? But yeah, so yeah, there's that. But thank you, Joe, for the super chat. Another one here, Maxentius Decimus. This one, I'm sure you'll have some things to say. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, really, about this one. But thank you, Max, for the super chat. Max saying,
another OG, Max.
Yes, Max is another OG as well. Kampf and Engvall. I love how he uses the emojis in the comments too. Sometimes I look and I'm just like, the giraffe. Sometimes I look and I'm just like, have to decipher quickly like what he's talking about. But this one's pretty easy. Max, can you please come up with one for Kampf, or if anybody has an idea in the chat for one for Kampf?
A camper van, or just like a tent or something?
A tent, yes, a tent. That's perfect. Kampf and Engvall looked good. I think they need each other. Thank you for the super chat, Max. Rob, I'm just only have a very quick statement on it, and then you and I can have a conversation.
Sure.
But
This is actually something I wanted to bring up. This is the second kind of topic I wanted to get your thoughts on too. So
okay, so I think they had chemistry last year. I
yeah,
think things got very shaken up to start this season between Engvall started the year with an injury. He started late in the season. He didn't go right
yeah,
away.
he had the ankle sprain. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then when he came in, the team was in a rocky place. And let's be honest, like this team did not start the year very well. And there was a lot
Not
of
at all.
concern going on. And then it was like, okay, now there's injuries and guys have to move around and you were trying with people with different line mates and combinations and different roles, and Yarncroke was in and moving around and playing center and then wing and then on the second line, and it was a gong show of stuff going on, and there was points where Bunting was there. Now we're in a position where those guys get back together like they were last year, start to play together again, get some chemistry, you're both starting to roll. Find those guys a good guy to play alongside them. I don't know if it's going to be Kerfoot in the long term. I don't know if Kerfoot will be here long term. We'll see what happens. But find someone who can play alongside them, maybe has a little bit of skill to be able to finish, because as much as I love David Kampf and he can score a goal every now and then, like, we got to be realistic. The guy's just not a goal scorer. Like, he's not a goal scorer. So if you can
Yeah.
find a guy on that line who can maybe bury every now and then, that line will be like chef's kiss, like magic, right? Like, am I out of my mind with that?
For sure. And I guess this again, something that was a second kind of question and discussion point I wanted to have with you. Reuniting Camp, Kerfoot, Engvall, very successful last year, not successful in playoffs, right? I think that there's a part to that, but that
Yeah.
we're getting ahead of ourselves. Like, we don't want to look into playoffs right now. I've been impressed over the last couple of games reuniting them. And in Discord today, I just mentioned about shocking how Engvall and Kerfoot are scoring. Kerfoot has a multi goal game, kind of shocking, non-empty net as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think it's good news. It makes a lot of sense. But when I started thinking about things even further, what happens when Yarncrow comes back? So there's, I guess, two components to this. Is it Holmberg, Zach Aston Reese, Engvall on the fourth line? That's pretty good defensively and also forechecking. So that I think that's a pretty good solution. I'm just thinking when everyone gets back healthy. Obviously we're gonna have more injuries. So that was just something I was thinking with question to you is I think that makes a lot of sense, but we're still on the second line left wing. That's our gap, and this could be a gap filled sooner, but most likely trade deadline.
Yeah.
And then it's like Yarn Croak, Camp, and Kerfoot, which I don't mind either. So it's just something to think about. How do we mix in that third line and integrate it where it's successful scoring and giving us the depth scoring that we need, especially in playoffs. Also being good defensively and having the forechecking component. So you would have third and fourth line basically very strong defensively and good on the forecheck, and hopefully getting the confidence as you mentioned on prior post games. Kerfoot, Engvall lacking confidence. Now the last couple games scoring, which is hopefully will enhance and increase to further scoring in the future. Obviously hard to say, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking in terms of third and fourth, and yeah, I think I wouldn't mind that, but still, it's that left wing. So I guess it's there's two parts to this, but it's just I agree. I think reuniting that line make a lot of sense, especially Yarncroke being out, but I don't see him being on the fourth line, if that makes sense. Or he doesn't really fit, as we mentioned on that other call, the second line. Really, it's like it's okay, but it's not. I feel optimal. So that's my opinion on, I guess, kind of the combination of the third line and how it can trickle to the fourth and vice versa. We still need to fill the second line left wing spot. That's where I'm at.
Yes. I'm just trying to think through how some of this goes. So Yarncroke injured currently. Robertson injured. Those are the only two forwards injured right now, correct? That's it?
Correct. Yeah.
So
And Malgin's filling in on top left,
yes, on the
second
second
left
line.
line. And then Simmons has been mixing in on the fourth, but I just don't think
Yes.
he's a viable option. He's really not. And Holmberg I like on the fourth too, and
I
Zach
don't think
Aston-Reese as
Holmberg should
well.
be out of this lineup ever. I
No, I
think
don't.
Holmberg
I
should be in
completely
every
agree.
night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, agreed.
Okay. Let's talk through this a little bit. Yarncroke comes back, takes Malgin's spot.
Yeah,
That's just kind of 1-for-1. Don't touch the third line. Leave Kerfoot there. And then basically what I do with that fourth line is Holmberg stays. That is like just lock it. Don't even think about changing it. Like don't even worry about it. Zach Aston-Reese, I like him.
left or right.
I think he's fitting in there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to rotate Joey Anderson and Malgin until one of them figures out which one deserves that position until we get any further. I think.
Do you think it's Joey Anderson though? I don't think he's the end game. But
no,
I think
not
they
the
maybe rotate. I think they rotated out a little bit. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. See, here's part of it is I think that Joey Anderson could be the better fourth line player. Maybe he's not the better player, but he could be the better fourth line player than Malgin is. So that might just be the difference. Is like, hey, this guy plays better on the fourth line in fourth line minutes than Malgin does, and that I'm fine with that if that's the case. If that guy fills that role better, then that so be it. But I think that they probably go with that, and then Simmons again. I just don't think is the viable option to go. No. I just can't get there. And then the other thing would just be like, let's say that they go out there and they get that second line forward. Something has to leave. And I don't know who it would be, so it's hard to speculate, but I would imagine what they would try to do. Pardon?
It's an Engvall or Kerfoot situation.
Yes, agreed.
Because the salary, 3.5 or 2.25. Yeah.
So I'm imagining it's probably one of those guys, which is going to affect the second line, or that third line, excuse me. And once that happens, you're already moving down Yarncroke. You're not trading him. You just signed him. You're moving him down, and then he probably just fills the role of whoever left. And I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm happy walking away from that.
I agree for sure. I guess one thing on the fourth line, just as you mentioned, Malgin and Joey Anderson, I think Steves should get a look. I just I mean, they had SDA come up. They've kind of interchanged some of these younger players, like game here and there, which is good. But I think Steves was good, and I mentioned in the comments as well in the chat there. I think it was last post game that Steves was really good preseason. He's second in scoring on the Marlies. He plays center, I believe, shoots left. So I feel he has some physicality as well, from what I noticed in some of the preseason games. So I wouldn't mind getting a look at him. But I think we've kind of narrowed it down where it's second line left wing gap, and then maybe a fourth line right or left filler, which would, to me, that's a cherry on top. But I think, and then obviously the Justin Hall replacement potentially on the third line right defense. So I know they won't be able to capture all those three. I think they just need to prioritize based on what the dollar value is, I guess, coming in and going out, and then what assets need to be given up. And I really see this being a trade deadline scenario, right?
Yeah, agreed. But
they don't want to mix things up right now. I don't think Dubas is going to be like, oh, we're going to tie a franchise record in points in straight games, and let's just like make a big trade mid-season. Makes no sense.
No, agreed.
And plus, the accruing cap as the year goes on, they get a little bit more cap space as time goes on as well, right? So I feel that's probably the direction they're going to go. Maybe have a couple trades, trade deadline, hopefully, and to fill at least two of these three gaps we're talking about.
So this year, the trade deadline is March 3rd. The day that around the time that I would start looking and
1 month.
keeping my eyes peeled is beginning of February. I would start keeping my eyes peeled last week of January, first week of February, and anything that starts to pick up any kind of news, it'll be broken down on this channel. So if you guys want anything like that, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on notifications, hit like on this stream. But I would start keeping my eyes peeled on that and then start thinking that some of that stuff could actually be a possibility. A lot of the stuff that gets talked about now, it's not like it doesn't have merit to it. It's just like
Bo Horvat as an example.
right. It's just things that are thrown out there because are they possible? Yeah, they are. Are they likely? Probably not, some of them right now. So once they get into late January, early Feb, that's when I'm thinking Dubas is going to make his move, give as much time as he can to whoever comes in here to get acclimated. Because people forget too, like
that's his MO though. Dubas
yeah,
has made trades about a month, 3 weeks to a month ahead of trade deadline to for the simple reason of integration, as you mentioned, and just getting acclimated to the team, the structure, and that's been something he's done the last couple of years, I guess. But actually, sorry, it would be 3 years because the 1 year they didn't make any trades, right? So I think they kept their first round as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I agree with you. I think they'll start looking probably a month in advance of the deadline. But again, no rush, right?
yeah.
There are trade speculations out there to speculate. It's not probably the reality.
All right, let's talk about something outside of trades. Let's talk about a guy who's going absolutely nowhere and a guy who's on pace or potential to break Patrick Kane's single season consecutive point streak. Mitch Marner, 23 consecutive games. He's now 2 games back of Sidney Crosby with 25 and 3 games back of Patrick Kane with 26. Rob, can Mitch Marner set the new NHL for active players? He's not going to beat Wayne Gretzky 51 as much as I love what he's doing right now. He's not beating that. Can he pass Patrick Kane with the 26?
I think so. Again, I think I've been pretty optimistic on this call, but you have to look at the facts. You have to watch the games. You have to look at the stats, and you have to see how the team is playing. And it's undoubtable to me. He plays penalty kill. He plays power play. He plays debatable second or first line interchangeable with Matthews' line. It's going to happen. The guy's at least going to get an assist per game. It's just the way he's playing too the amount of time he plays. It's a combination of things. Like as we've been talking about, you have to, take into consideration some of these things. But I feel 2 to 3 games more is definitely doable. We'll see how the Rangers game goes. That will be a tough game coming up. But I think so. I think it's a minimum a tie. I can't say, past. I think it's going to be at least 25, so at least a couple more games. But hopefully it's a tie and a pass of a 26-27 for Patrick Kane. I think it's realistic. I don't think it's a stretch. He's been scoring a lot of goals consecutive games other than tonight. And because of the amount of time he plays, the way he's playing, his vision, he just has that hockey sense. And for him to get even a secondary or third assist, it's just realistic.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm looking at schedule and just trying to think about this. So he's going to have opportunity for 24 against the Rangers. 25 against the Caps on Saturday. Man, I just thought I did like 1 + 1 math wrong there. I had to double check myself. And then 26 to tie the record against who other than Tampa Bay Lightning on Tuesday, the 20th, next Tuesday. So, I mean, he
tough
did
games. Tough games
like
sure.
Not really. I mean, I think you're looking at basically the toughest ones are going to be the Rangers and the Lightning. So you're going to have a little bit of a difficult stretch here over the next 3 games, not just for Marner, but for the team. Like, hey, what can these guys do? You're playing against the Rangers, likely going to face Shesterkin. I would imagine they put him in net for that one.
Yeah.
So you're going to face a good goaltender, and kind of what can you make of it? So we'll see. We'll see how that goes when we get there. But yeah, I think he can do it because at this point, this team, it's not even just Marner, it's this team. It doesn't matter who they're playing in net. It doesn't matter how good the other team is or how good that team's defense is. They're finding ways to put pucks past the goalies. Like, look at that game against Tampa. Vasilevsky played. They found a way to score 3 goals on him. Like, they're Dan Vladar. He's been very good so far this season. Found a way to put 4 past him. They're finding ways to score on good teams, good defenses, good goalies. Jake Ottinger, 4-0 win. Like, they're finding ways. So as long as the team can continue to buzz and not have to basically be like, hey, Marner, like, we need you to get your point streak so that we can win here tonight. As long as that the team continues to play well, I think it makes things a million times easier on Mitch to do it as well.
You used a key word there, buzz.
Yeah, buzz. Yeah.
He always says that every interview.
Yeah. Like, that's what he's doing. He's buzzing right
Every
now.
time, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Also, by the way, this is absolutely mental. On Wayne Gretzky's 51-game point streak, courtesy of Jeremy W. in the chat, on Wayne Gretzky's 51-game point streak, he had 153 points.
That's crazy.
153 points in 51 games. The guy averaged 3 points a game. Yeah, and that was to start the season too. I believe that was like game 1 to 51. Like, I'm pretty sure that was the streak. Like, you basically just like lock in the Rocket and most points.
Art Trophy.
Art Ross for the most points. You lock in basically like those 2 trophies, and you're like just over 50% of the season's done. It's like, well, nobody's catching that guy. Like, he just went on the biggest heater we've ever seen.
No, it's insane. Like, he's the great one for a reason. Just on that note, I know we mentioned kind of off topic with the Oilers. McDavid's going to probably hit 150. He's very close to the trending this year. He's at 50, I think 53 or 54. I think I could be wrong. He's in the 50s points, and look how many games are in the year. So I think it's realistic for him to do that in a full season. So again, 2 different players, obviously different times, but that's also pretty exciting. I like to see McDavid do well. He's your boy from Newmarket, right? So he's Canadian as well.
Now listen. I know this is actually a hot take. I'm willing to own this one, and I know that it's not like the most likely thing in the world, so I know that this is hot. At some point in Connor McDavid's career, now this is a hot take statement, so do with this what you will. At some point in Connor McDavid's career, he will surpass 180 points in a season.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a little hectic, Zach.
It's a little hectic. I agree. I'm just like, I watch this guy and he just seems to somehow get better every year. And I'm like, he might do it. Like, he just might do it. And I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like it could happen.
180 is a stretch, I think.
Yeah,
but
I want to see it
know.
happen.
I think 150 is realistic, but a stretch. It's not like a guarantee. It's just you just watch the guy, and I mean, it's the stick handling speed and then finish every time, and you just laugh watching him. Like, if you just watch, highlights, he just skates through 3 guys, stick handles a certain way. Backhand, forehand, in close to the goalie, has no chance every time. Like, that's like how he scores. It's just, he's unreal like that. There's no other player that skates as fast as him. That even in history, I don't think, just the way he flies and stick handles, it's next level. It's just, the way, like, especially even the control he has at like top speed, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I'm seeing chat here. Eddie Orso saying, Zach, weed or shrooms tonight? Be honest. Yeah. And then, but here's the thing. Phenom saying 4-point night for McDavid tonight. He had a goal and 3 assists. And then,
it's insane. It's true.
Yeah. Joe bringing up a good point too. 2.2 points per game is what it would require. Now, it's very, very difficult. I understand. I don't know that that's likely. It's more just like when it happens, I'm going to be sitting here being like, I was on the right side of
Remember the
history.
time? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Remember the time when
Yeah.
Zach called it out as a hot take?
He's going to get like 181. And I'm going to be like, I said he was surpass 180.
You could be right. You could be right.
I
We'll
don't know.
see what
It's
happens.
just there's a lot of scoring going on in the NHL. This guy continues to put up crazy amounts of points, and he's not playing on a very good team. Like at some point, maybe if he got surrounded by guys, like it could take that step. Super chat here from Rico. I'm not entirely sure what Rico is referring to here. I'll do my best inference. Rico, if you want to clarify in the chat, I will read it and we can discuss further. But Rico saying if there's no salary cap, there's no Matthews. I don't know if he's suggesting that if there's no salary cap, he gets signed somewhere else.
I think he's just saying that he wouldn't be in Toronto effectively. So if
I
there's no salary cap, a team would sign him. So for example, like it wouldn't be again if someone's going to say Arizona Coyotes, they don't have money, right? So let's go to like an LA, let's go to maybe a New York
the
Rangers. I don't know, a
Rangers.
team that, yeah, I mean Toronto, as we know, is at the top in terms of revenue, right? Rangers aren't that far behind. Yeah, so you could look at some of those other teams that could pay up, but I I don't know necessarily the value of thinking hypothetical that it's um that's ever going to happen. And Zach, I think you saw my message there earlier. Bettman said it's going up by 1 million this year, by the way. So after the meetings,
Oh, he did
and
confirm
then
that.
he did confirm it. Yeah. So
Sucks.
again, I don't think he said 100%, but
Mm-hmm.
it was very confident in terms of how it was worded that it'd be a 1 million into 2023, and then to your point, a gradual multi-million dollar as over the next few years. And
Yeah.
part of the issue is because of COVID and that they have to repay the escrow and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's a component of that. So yeah, I mean, still another mill that'll help the Leafs, but we'll see. I think the following year will be the do or die in terms of re-signing Matthews, Nylander, right? And so we'll see where that goes. But I think that's what he's referring to is that another team would pay up more to have Matthews if there wasn't a salary cap. That's how I interpret that. But
Yeah, I think that's a valid way to interpret it. I would say though that if there's no salary cap, it
the
probably
Leafs would pay
actually,
up.
yeah, it probably actually
Yeah.
like increases for me chances because I think the bidding war would kind of come down to like the Rangers, as you said, the Leafs. I think the Kings would slowly get left behind a little bit because like I think Toronto and the Rangers would just be like, all right, how much do you want? Like tell us and we're going to put it down on paper for you and we don't really care. I think it would just go ridiculously high if there was no cap. And I think he likes playing in Toronto. Like you kind
Yeah.
of have to remember like you get in New York, he would be the man. Like he's gonna be the guy, and he's gonna get a lot of attention. And Jimmy Fallon and whatever. But in Toronto, it's a different kind of acknowledgement because in Toronto, they look at you like you're God because you're a hockey player. Like in New York, there's other stars in New York. And there's other
Yeah, fair
people
enough.
who live there who are stars of other things. And like, yeah, like the NBA players, like guys on the Knicks, if they get like a superstar player in from the Knicks or like even Kevin Durant's like walking the streets and stuff, those guys
Yeah,
get a ton of attention and they're
of
probably going to
course.
still outweigh what Matthews is going to get.
It's a different demographic break as well, if you think
Yeah.
about it too. Like completely. Just yeah, you're right. And the size of New York is much bigger than Toronto, obviously, in terms of population. Yeah, there's other components. I agree with you on that. That makes a lot of sense. And so here it's A in Canada, B you know, highest revenue generation in terms of team, highest probably media in terms of hockey coverage and content. So those are other aspects as well. I think, yeah, he likes being here. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think like he's gonna get he still gets the GQ. Like he's the guy
Yeah, of
in the
course.
GQ.
Yeah, of
He's the
course.
guy on Ryan Reynolds commercials and with Justin Bieber
Yeah,
and the list just continues to go on. So
it's
it's
true.
like, yeah, you're gonna get some of that elsewhere, but you're not gonna get the same level of recognition for the stardom somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's kind of just where I lean with that a little bit. People in the chat are being pretty funny right now after that comment about how stoned I am about my McDavid take. So, uh, 6 1/3 says, like this stream if you're high right now. And then he says, put down the hash pipe and hit the like button. Gord saying, I would love to, but I don't want to deal with Japanese law. Like some good stuff going on in the chat.
Usually Max has the Max Indium Decimus has the most random comments. Like I remember just going back like even last year and like you and Goody laughing about like some of his comments, like just hilarious.
Sometimes, especially before when Goody was on, like Goody and I would go on tangents, and that's why like when you and Luke and Gord and Joe and like other people call in, Matthew, like when those guys call in, like I sometimes get like distracted from the chat a little bit because I'm paying attention to you guys more, and I'm more
Yeah,
like engaged in the dialogue that's going on between us. And then
yeah.
like I'll just look at the chat and just see some of the most outrageous stuff ever. And I'm like, I don't
What was
even
it
know if
last
I
game?
can.
Last game. Who was it? Was it Matt that called in? Who was it? I'm trying to
Last game,
remember.
Luke and Gordon called in on Saturday.
Oh, I missed that one. Sorry, it was the one before. And someone said something in the chat, and you were
Oh,
just like
Matthew.
dying. So yeah, Matthew.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because he
yeah,
got his headphones
yeah,
stolen in the morning. And then someone just
yeah.
came in and was like, yo, guys, I got a new pair of headphones this morning. Yeah, that was hilarious. I actually uh was I couldn't stop laughing at that. I was like, I'm sorry, like I had to cut him off and be like, yo, listen to this comment. Uh, but yeah, the chat is hilarious. But thank you guys so much for supporting and subscribing and everything. I'm seeing. Oh, by the way, this is the one thing I want to say to you. It's not really like a discussion thing on it, but the cap was supposed to go up by like multiple millions of dollars the
It was
year
3 to 4
after
million.
COVID hit.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm talking about like a couple of years ago, like the year we lost the playoffs and it had to go to the bubble before the All Canada divisions. So
yeah,
like after that season concluded, before the
yeah. It
All
was supposed to
Canada
be
divisions,
4 million. Yeah,
yeah.
it was.
So
And that's
like
what the Leafs. That's how they signed Marner, and that's
that's
how
what
they
they were
signed
banking on.
Matthews contracts. Yeah, it's true. They
Yes,
were.
because they were basically like looking there, being like, this cap's gonna go up, and now yeah, it bit them in the ass, but like
You can't predict that.
how you could predict a pandemic, like
You can't exactly.
that's not really written into your forecast of things, I would say.
No. And then
Yeah,
everyone's chirping Dubas getting upset like he's such an idiot and we're cap strapped. It's like yeah, the guy was looking ahead in a positive light, right? Like it's just
yeah,
I don't know.
it
Haters will
is
be
what it
haters,
is.
right? Yeah,
um
exactly.
all right, let's talk about goaltending a little bit here. Ilya Samsonov, back-to-back shutouts, this guy records. Comes off the hands of a Matt Murray game that he didn't play the greatest. Now, I'm not going to sit here and really harp on Matt Murray for that game. He kind of had, I think it was Gord was saying on Saturday, like he had the Grant Fuhr game. And it's like, maybe you let in a bunch of goals, but guess what? I'm not letting in the last one, and we're going to win this
Hmm.
game. Which sometimes it's nice to see out of a guy. It's like, hey, are you going to battle? Are you going to be able to? Are you going to be able to fight through this? And he did. But the last time that we saw him give up a bad goal was the game against Tampa, and it was the overtime goal, and that was the first real oopsies that I saw out of Matt Murray in a long time.
Hmm.
And Sheldon Keefe went right back to him the next game, and he went into the Dallas game, and they won 4-0, and he put up the greatest statistical goaltending shutout performance in NHL history, and
Yeah.
la-di-da. Now, after the game against Calgary, kind of stubs his toe a little bit, wins the game still, but Sheldon Keefe decides to go back to Ilya Samsonov in the next game. Gets a shutout here tonight, plays very, very well. How do you kind of predict the next game against the Rangers to go? You think he just goes back to Murray, or he's like, all right,
I think
you
I
got
think
the
that it
hot
was
hand?
already. Yeah, I think even Gord said in the chat, and this is also said. I'm trying to think, where did I hear it? Either Keith mentioned something or something was brought up. Oh, yeah. And anyways, regardless, effectively they're going to go back and forth. So, going with the hot hand. This was actually on Kipper and Born, by the way. Now that I remember it, but going with a hot hand may make more sense in the playoffs. But
Mhm.
as of right now, the type of goaltender we're getting from both guys is the best in the league, and there's no one that can debate that. I mean, maybe you can go with Boston, like you can go with a Swayman Elmer kind of scenario, but realistically, in the top of the league, save percentage, but as a tandem as well. There's because the thing is with goaltending, there's a lot of defensive components to it, right? How is the fence in front of them? There's a lot of factors involved. I think they're just going to go back and forth, Zach. And in New York, they're going to be playing Murray. And maybe I know you didn't ask me this, but am I worried about Murray? Not at all. Like at all, right? So, yeah, it was one game. Calgary, the Calgary game was really weird. There was a lot of penalties, a lot of shorthanded play, stop and go. A couple of goals were really good. A couple of goals weren't that great. So, everyone's going to have one of those kind of games, and I'm not worried. Like they both shown that they played so well, and the team's playing well in front of them. So I see it going back and forth. And I think he's also kind of alluded to that or mentioned that he's gonna see how it goes, but he's been going back and forth ever since they both gotten healthy. So that's my opinion on it as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably the right decision as well. I was kind of curious just how you were approaching it. I think also some of it is watching Samsonov be a little bit uh, mindful of his groin once that
Yeah,
one play happened. I feel like it's
or
also
his
just
knee.
yeah, knee. It's a
Yeah,
little bit of an optimal spot to um kind
yeah.
of
Take a break, one day
yeah,
on,
like all
one day
right, like
off. Yeah,
let's get the
yeah.
other guy in there and see what happens once we roll through that. So I think it's probably a pretty good spot for him to get to go in, and I agree. The other thing on it is like you gave him the opportunity after he let in that bad one against Tampa, and he came out and he showed that he deserved to get that response game.
Yeah.
Show us
Yeah, and
again.
I think they have both again something to add that I didn't mention earlier. They both have really good personalities. They
Yeah,
very I would say like Sammy's hilarious. Like you ever watch his post game interviews, he's so happy, Mr. Smiles. The guy's just like he's really just a positive, almost like a shining light. It's like really funny. Murray's the same way, but he's more chill, right? He's kind of more
just like happy go
laid back,
lucky.
I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's like he's positive, but he's not so like he's just more chill in terms of his demeanor. I guess maybe he's just that's his personality. He's also a little bit he's more experienced, obviously, right?
right.
So I think they've asked him questions like, what do you think about going back and forth between games? Like, what's the relationship like with Samsonov and vice versa? And they always say good things, and they're supposed to because they're a team. But I genuinely think that they both
It's
support each
real.
other, and yeah, it's real. I think they support each other, and I think that's key, and they're just on the same page. And let's really look at the facts. Both Murray and Samsonov have not played nowhere near above 50 games in any individual season. They've both
Yeah.
played lower numbers in the high 30s. And so why not keep that going? Because that's what they've done for their whole career. So that's another point as well to think about it.
They seem the right combination of competitive and wanting the net, wanting to be the number one, and supportive and understanding. It's like a weird thing to watch
Yeah,
because
I agree.
it's like in some ways in your mind you kind of have to have that like, yeah, kind of, even if it's a little bit, you have to have that like fu, like I want this net, and you can't just
Yeah,
be like, oh, like okay, you're in net tonight, like
yeah,
that's not really going to work for the competitive atmosphere. But it's also like you can't go around and like stab the guy in the back, right? Like
yeah,
you gotta support the guy and help him through, because otherwise it's not going to help either of you with development or playing well or confidence or anything. So to see them both kind of having that inner, like that dialogue going between them is nice. I will also just say I did listen to it today, on just thinking about how funny Samsonov is in his interviews. These Russian guys are pretty hilarious. If anybody gets the
yeah.
opportunity to listen to the Nikita Zadorov interview on Spit and Chicklets that he did, even if you just skip to that part, listen to the interview. It is hilarious. He
Okay,
is
I gotta watch that.
hilarious. He It's
He's also a
non-Leafs
beast.
related. He's a
He's just
beast. And I've
he's
always watched this guy and just like watched him like mash people's heads in and stuff. And I was like, man, this guy's like a killer, obviously. And then I see that they're having him on. I'm like, he can't have like that much personality. Like he's like this Russian dude, played his whole life in Russia, like came to London actually. But it's hilarious. That's one thing I will actually highly recommend, is even just like that interview, that part of the episode, that interview, give that a watch. I'll give it
I
a
will
little
for
like
sure.
sneak here of what happens that like had me dying. He talked about when he came to London, Dale Hunter was GM, and it was just after Kadri had left and was a rookie with the Leafs. And he said that he basically came here. He had grown 20 centimeters over the summer and gained a ton of weight. And he says he comes here, he's like fat basically, like for his standards. And so he's like, he didn't have to go to school anymore because he had finished his stuff. So him and Dale Hunter would go in the gym at 8 a.m. every morning, ride the bike for half an hour, and then go and watch NHL highlights, so that A, Zadorov could learn English from watching TV, and B, he could watch the NHL game going on, like what happens in the
Yeah.
NHL, and learn. And he said every time Toronto would come on the TV, he would like see highlights of Naz like toe dragging guys and stuff, and Dale Hunter would basically just like curse at the TV because Naz was like toe dragging and stuff. And he said he would just like scream at the TV. And then anytime like Ron Wilson would like bench Kadri, or you'd see that he'd like benched Kadri, he would just like lose his mind, like talking about how big of an idiot Ron Wilson was. So it's
Of
just like
course, with the
also
Russian
funny.
accent, I'm sure it's
Yes.
hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Add on the Russian accent. And he was saying like how awkward it was because he could like barely speak to Dale Hunter. And like this is what Dale Hunter's doing like every morning. But yeah, just it's funny. It's very funny to watch. That was just my point on it. We got a super chat here from from Max. So speak of the devil. Thank you, Max, for the super chat. Max saying,
Is there emojis?
no emojis.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of surprised.
He's slipping. He's
Yeah.
slipping.
Max saying Marner 23, gotta respect the drive. He's matured. I have said a lot about it. We can kind of go back and forth on this, but thank you for the super chat, Max. Greatly appreciated. Rob, thoughts on just even the maturity of Mitch Marner now and where he's at?
Yeah. I think we talked about this a couple times potentially with your like spoiled kid, school kid. I don't remember exactly what your analogy was, but I agreed with you where he just kind of, someone kicks sand at him and he's just all like down and just like I saw it. I saw it in some games. He's just on a different level now. I don't thoroughly enjoy his interviews, by the way. His interviews are okay. I'd rather probably, post game and things like that. But he's been pretty consistent with what he's been saying for a while. I just think he's confident. He plays a lot. He's on a good line. There's just all positive things going on, and yeah, I think he's turned that spoiled kind of kid mentality around a little bit, and I think he's really just kind of in the zone. So the 23 is fantastic. Again, I think he's going to get as we mentioned, the 25, the 26. And yeah, keep going. It's great. I think the team's fully embraced and supported him. I think the fans standing up when he surpassed the record, I think was also awesome. There's a lot of support there from the fans. So, we should do the same, and we should, wish him to keep it going, because it's just going to benefit the team as a whole, right?
Yeah. My analogy is essentially that he kind of gets the, like, did you play hockey growing up, Rob?
To be quite honest with you, I was a street hockey, ball hockey type of guy,
Okay,
and
that's
pond
fine.
hockey. So I
Yeah.
wasn't in like a league or anything like that.
No,
And
it's all good. Yeah. I'm not,
yeah,
there's
but
no judgment. I was just curious.
no. But I wanted to, but yeah, I watched the Leafs since I was a kid. Like that was like my team, right? So which is
Right.
why I kind of am here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I played honestly, yeah, just for fun, like street hockey, ball hockey, and then like pond hockey.
Okay. So all I was going to say is throughout my time growing up playing hockey, mostly when I was younger, probably until like 12, you would see kids, whether it be on my team or other teams we played against, that if things didn't go their way, they would have the hissy fits. And it was like the kicking the boards, slamming their
Yeah,
sticks, smashing the glass. You see them on the bench, their head is
and they're
down,
and they're
hunched
and they're
over.
crying. They're trying not to like make it seem like they're crying, not crying,
Yeah.
but they are.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And it was like, not everybody does that. And you'd see like the
No,
occasional kid doing it. But like when you'd see those kids, it would always like drive me nuts. Cause I'm like, no matter what is going
relax.
on, like it's not that bad. And doing that is only going to make things worse for yourself based on how your teammates view you, maybe, or the coach views you, or whatever it is, or how the other team views you because now you're an easier target, like whatever's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I just see those flashes and I don't like really want to talk about it in the stream, but it's more just to like reference it is like, I see those flashes happen with him where like that kid comes out of him and I'm like, like I understand frustration. I understand things aren't going your way. We've seen Crosby like slam his stick. We've seen guys like get pissed off. It's more of just like when you get pissed off, how are you going to represent yourself? Because everyone looks at him and feeds off of his energy and feeds off of the way
Yeah.
he plays and what he does and how he acts. Like there's no coincidence that this runless Leafs team is happening at the same time that this is going on with him.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
go hand in hand. They feed together. And so it's more just like when things aren't going that well, handle
Okay.
yourself a little bit better. Like handle that and make it not as bad. Be pissed off. If something's really bothering you, like, yeah, slam your stick. That's fine. But it's like, don't slam your stick and then sit on the bench and kick the boards and then hunch over and put your head in your lap and not look at anybody and have the sulk. Because it's like you do one thing and then it
And
goes
then
to the other. And
interview,
then,
yeah, and then interview after, and just like shake your head and just get these questions, and like,
yeah,
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like excessive, basically. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with you.
And
Yeah.
then everyone feeds off of that. And then all of a sudden we're like, hey, we went 15 games with points consecutively and now we've lost 3 straight games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not like knock on wood, that's not going to happen. But it's just like, like it starts trending that way. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what's wrong with the Leafs? What's going on with the Leafs? Like, and it's like, okay, like
Yeah.
just get rid of those a little bit and you're going to be fine. So
I think
I
that's why he
think,
got rid of social media too, by the way, because he gets too affected by people
yeah.
and situations and stuff. Yeah,
And like
yeah,
that's
it's
fine.
true.
If it bothers you,
It's all
get rid
good.
of it. I'm not saying you can't be bothered by it. Like imagine millions of people are following every move you make and like you have a bad game and like me coming on here and ripping him is like one thing, but then there are bad people out there who
Yeah, of
legitimately
course.
go out there
Trolls and
and
stuff
like
like that, and like
DM
say
him
you
and
shit the
DM his
bed.
girlfriend and
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
shit
I get it.
would bug me and I get it. So if you don't want that, I fully, hey man, you got to delete it. You got to delete it. I get it. So
He also was in a car hijacking, by the way, too. So yeah, it's
yeah,
not great.
Yeah,
Not
it's
great,
insane.
not great situation. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's matured a bit. I think things have gotten better. But again, it's like similar to like the Nylander thing is like, all right, show me the consistency on that. And not necessarily that you have to be the happiest guy in the world for 82 games of the season, but like if things don't go the best for you, like okay, just show me like you're gonna handle it. That's basically all I'm asking for out of it is like how are you gonna act in that moment in during that time. That's all.
Be a mature adult. The end.
Yes. Yeah. Super chat here from Rico. We can get to this before we get to some of the grades and that kind of stuff. Super chat from Rico. Thank you, Rico, for the super chat. Rico says, "What are your three Christmas wish? What are your three Christmas wishes for the Leafs?" So let's go. Also, thank you, Daryl. I see that comment. It says watching you guys on my TV at the moment. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome takes. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
But okay, so let's not go. Well, I'm trying to think about how to do this. All right, Rob, would you rather we do this in terms of like what are the three things you're wishing at Christmas time this Leafs team, or do you want to go like what are three things like you're asking for at Christmas that you'd like to see by like the end of the year? What angle would you like to play on this?
Let's just do before the end of the year.
Okay.
Because if you're thinking it as a Christmas gift, you're getting it around Christmas, so it's something you would get right away. So I have three things in my mind that could happen over the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
Do you want to start, or do you have any top of mind? I think we talked about a couple of them throughout the call, but so Marner's point
let's go back
streak.
and forth. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, go first. Go first. Go with go with
Marner's
one.
point
Yeah.
streak. Yeah, so Marner's point streak would be extending that pass to Patrick Kane. So that would be, I think it'd be high on my list. Maybe do we want to number them or just want to have the three?
Just go three. Just yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
don't think number
Marner's
them.
point streak.
Okay.
That would be one of mine.
I think I'm not gonna go with the same ones as you so that we can get some variety, especially for the people in the chat, and also give us your three wishes as well. I want to see what everyone else says. But I'll do some variety. That would be one of mine as well, but I'll just make it a stocking stuffer. Marner point sheet.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
I'm gonna go Murray and Samsonov both finish in top 10 in save percentage by Christmas. They're both in it right now. I just want them to complete the year with that.
Consistent.
Yeah. Pardon?
With a consistent end to the year, basically.
Yeah, basically consistent end to the year.
Goaltending.
Let's close out 2022 with consistency from the goaltenders and keep that rocking. They've been exceptional so far to start this season. They've been playing consistently, which the best ability is availability. That's one of like my favorite like sports quotes. And you're basically just let's keep it rolling because it creates good vibes for the team. It creates good vibes going forward. It helps the GM, it helps the defense, it helps the coaches. So if that can continue, that's one for me that I'm high on.
Okay. I don't want to take all the easy ones, Zach. So I have a good one.
Okay.
So the next one would be Justin Hall does not have any gap, like grabbing the puck in his hand and throwing it back at the other team. Or just any really bad plays.
You said
like
you
that.
weren't picking the easy ones.
No, I know exactly. I just, again, we don't want to bust on the guy the whole time, but he just does these things, and even Gord mentions them, right? And just these gaffes, and they're just like just mental lapses that no one else could possibly do. If he could just not have any of those as a Christmas gift before the end of the year, that would be amazing. And he's on the top line, so again, anything he does like that really typically affects us severely, right? So, um, and then where they go the other way or whatever the case may be.
I like it. I mean, I would be very happy if that was the case as well. 6 1/3 saying Hall no gaffs, keep dreaming. uh,
Which is why it's a Christmas, yeah, top three.
yeah. That's why I'd be very happy if this is what I came downstairs and opened. It's like when you're a little kid and you ask for like a puppy or something, and it's like, well, sorry, bud, you're not gonna get that, but I'm glad you enjoyed waiting all year, being all excited for it.
But you're gonna get Justin Hall not with no gap, and then everything changes. That's way better.
Yeah. Also, Colin saying, think he's calling me out, but he's saying keep tabs on your stats, dude. It's your job. Leafs currently second in save percentage, third in goals allowed. I'm talking about both goalies individually being top 10 in their goaltending categories. They're both top 10 right now. I know the team is doing very well from that perspective, but I'm talking about like each individually because I think that helps them as well. Okay, second wish for me. I'm gonna say Matthews. Okay, this one's kind of hard to quantify. Matthews continues to heat up with his goal scoring. He's not lacking it, but relatively to Auston Matthews standards, it's a little lower than probably where people thought coming into this year. The last few games, he has continued to get much, much more dominant, become more of an all-around player, and the scoring chances are going to continue to come. The way that he is playing, the amount of shots he's generating, like I'm looking at tonight, I bet on him to have over 4.5 shots on goal. He had 5 within 1 minute of the second period. He's generating chances, and I think that these goals are going to start to come more in bigger bunches. We're going to start to see some multi-goal games from Matthews. So Auston Matthews to continue to heat up in his goal scoring, not just his play, his goal scoring. That's a Christmas wish for me because I feel like that just adds on to what everyone else is doing, adds on to Marner's point streak, and just gives you that extra boost of confidence as a Leafs fan.
Yeah. No, that's a really good one. And they mentioned tonight in the broadcast that he had the Selke like a game performance. So
yeah,
he was all over it tonight, and yeah, that's a really good one. I mean, you could even quantify it and say catching up to Nylander for the scoring lead on the team, right? Nylander has 17 goals, so he's still, I guess it's 4 behind. I think 4 behind. I'm pretty sure is what it is right now. No, that's a great one. I guess my final one, this may be a hot take, and I think someone mentioned in the chat earlier. Samsonov has another 2 shutouts to tie the record.
Okay.
So that would be again a hot take, but I think if this was on my Christmas list, I think that would be amazing.
I like it. Let's set the record with that. Let's set the record. I like it a lot. I'm on board.
I'm not sure who mentioned it in the chat. Someone mentioned it earlier, but yeah, that would be amazing.
You know, I think that would be amazing because that would also help with my Christmas wish of the goalies continuing to finish off the year hot. So that would help go alongside that. And imagine you have a guy who just doesn't allow any goals in his final, like, what does he have? He has 2 more games probably left before Christmas. Maybe I don't know what the schedule is off the top of my head, but imagine he
it would
just
probably be
finishes out the year.
3 games. Yeah, 3 games probably, something like that.
Also, real quick, Alex Ovechkin gets goal number 800. scores a hat trick tonight. He's 1 goal shy of Gordie Howe. That's incredible. But
Amazing.
yeah, I think that would be great, and it helps with team confidence. And all it does too is help make the defense look better, because the better the defense plays, the easier it is on Samsonov to have shutouts, and the better he plays in net and continues to have shutouts, the better the defense looks. So it looks better both ways. Exactly. I like that one. I'd be happy. I'm trying to think of like what my last one would be here.
I have an easy one if you want help. I thought you would have taken it already though.
I'm trying to go like off the radar, I guess, a little bit.
Oh, okay. Right.
All right. I have one. It's more like Leafs Digest specific related.
3,000 subscribers.
Well, you know what? No, that's also a stocking stuffer. I'm going to put it on the stocking stuffer. No. The third one, Josh Goodwin comes on here and gives Sheldon Keefe the flowers he deserves for the job that he's been doing coaching. Because Sheldon Keefe has taken so much garbage from Goody over the past like year and a half, 2 years. It's true. He hasn't got the opportunity to receive an apology from Goody and the applause that he deserves from Goody for the work that he has done. Because as much as you can sit here and say, hey, the goalies have been really good, the defense has been really good, the forwards have been really good, you know what that is all somewhat in some way a product of? Sheldon Keefe's coaching.
It's true. They've mentioned it. They've mentioned it a number of times. Yeah, no, that's hilarious, man. I'm so happy you brought that one up. That's so funny. Goody makes me laugh too, just the way he, even when he talks about Keith, he's like, I know I've, been hard on him in the past, but like this guy, he's just going to the next level. Like he just, just the way just the way he describes it. But you're right, he's been hating on Keith for so long. Like I think unjustly as well. But however, yeah, he definitely needs to bring the flowers to Keith for sure. That would be an awesome third Christmas gift, 100%.
I only got like mad at him like one time over the Keefe debate. We were like deep into it, and it had something like completely to do with like an individual player doing something dumb. And he just started going
he blames
off
it on
like Keefe, and I was like, it was like the one time, like every other time I was like, okay, like I kind of understand your point, and it was like the one time I was just like, no, like no, stop hating on Keefe. Like this has nothing to do with him.
It used to be Keefe and Justin Hall. They used to be connected to each other. It's like I don't understand why Justin Hall continues to play in the playoffs and Keith just loves this guy. I don't understand. Like he's just going off.
Yeah. I'm like, and it was like one time I just like snapped on him, and I was like, no, I'm not accepting this today. Okay, wait, what was your easy one? I want to know.
Oh, just for the Leafs to at least meet or extend their point in every game streak the past 14.
Yeah. Tonight.
I think that's 14. A given at this point.
Was tonight 14?
Yeah. I think they need one more game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I could be
wrong.
Let me
just look real quick.
Yeah, so they're one game away, I think, of time. I could be wrong. Like I said, I think it's maybe 1 point up, one game off, but
tonight was 15. But you're right.
So was it
the streak
history 16 game? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so 16. So yeah, so I think they're going to do it. But again, they have as you mentioned, 3 pretty tough games. Washington hasn't been great this year, but they've won 5 in a row. So yeah, tough 3 games coming up for sure for the Leafs.
Yeah, Colin, what are we doing here, man? It's positive vibes only in this stream right now.
What's Colin saying?
He's saying that we haven't compared last year's players and ice times and additions to the rosters. Sandin and Liljegren now being full times, adding Timmins, Ben, Muzzin being out. But maybe he's talking to somebody else in the chat. I don't really know. I'm just seeing some like annoyed comments coming through from Colin right now. Like, what is
Colin
going on?
Doesn't get annoyed. What's happening?
I think those are probably my top wish list things. So thank you, Rico, for the super chat. But
Yeah, good one.
also, you want to give me? Oh, there we go. 100 likes. Thank you to everyone who liked this stream.
Good
Greatly
job.
appreciated. Ryan Varick, I was like 100. Woo. Thank you. Also Colin clarifies he was talking to someone in the chat, not us. Okay. I was
One of
like,
the people in the chat that know nothing? Yeah, probably.
yeah. But I was like, wait, what is he talking about? Like, what did we say that was relating to that? But I get it now. All right. I want to do awesome Matthews play of the day. We still have to do that. We still have to do grades. I before this stream, I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna do a shorter one tonight. Like, it's a Tuesday night. I was
That's
tired.
what happens when I'm on, Zach.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
know. I talk to you like forever. Anytime I have people come on and just talk forever, it gets so easy. It's like you come on here, have insightful things to say, can partake in segments. So appreciate people calling in. Appreciate you calling in, Rob. But yeah, it makes me just like, I literally, the last time I looked at the time, like I'm monitoring everything of what's going on. Last time I looked at the time, it literally said a minute or an hour 10. And now it's at an hour 45. That's how quickly this went.
Last time I looked at the time, it was like before 11. I think it was like 10:50 or something like that. So there you go.
No, you want to know what the trippiest thing is that's happening to me right now on my phone? Every time I plug it into my computer that's here, like when I sit down at this computer, every time I plug it in, the time on the inside of my phone, not the lock screen, the inside of my phone gets locked at whatever time I plugged it in at. So
What?
I swear to God, so if I leave my phone open and I don't like close it to look at the time, sometimes I just get lost and like have no idea if I'm not looking at the time on my computer or something. So right now on my phone, it's 9:47 p.m.
There you go.
So hasn't been that long. But yeah, I'm seeing Dukes07 saying, guys, we found out he's doing shrooms. Also, just real quick before we get to the awesome Matthews, I don't know if Dukes takes offense to it. I hope not. If you do, please tell me to stop. But every time I see him comment, all I can think about is that scene from Semi-Pro. You know, when the guy's like on the court shirtless and he's got the long hair and he's like the stoner guy and he's like, give it up for Dukes. Dukes is homegrown. And he's like, Dukes is on a little something homegrown. And Dukes hits like the full court shot and wins like beer for life or whatever, but they don't actually have it because the sponsor was fake. That's all I can think about every time. Give it up for Dukes. Dukes is homegrown. Dukes is on a little something homegrown.
On a completely off note, when I think of Dukes, I think about Frank Dukes from Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Have you watched that movie?
I think I've seen it when it's like on TV. I've never seen it.
The original
start to finish.
Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah, it's a classic, man. Yeah, it's a classic. But his name's Frank Dukes, but they call him Dukes throughout the whole movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm looking at images of it right now in the back. I have seen parts of this. I've never seen the full thing.
It's classic, man. You gotta watch it.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Enough distraction for myself right now. Yeah, Duke says every time I comment, you tell this story. Maybe. Yeah. Matthew saying, gotta go to bed, boys. Good night. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. All right. I'm going to play the animation. Awesome Matthews play of the day. All right. Awesome Matthews play of the day. Also, Rob, Phenom says, any problems with your car? Were you in here on Saturday's stream? Did you see Saturday's? No, right?
No, I missed it. Sorry.
So no, it's all good. Don't apologize. You know Luke, right? Like the guy that calls him, that's the Canucks fan. Okay.
Yeah.
So he called in, and I told him like, yo, it's positive vibes only, and he said, yeah, 100%. He was positive the entire time. He goes to leave. He's like, sorry, man, like I gotta go, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. He's like, all right, chat, please everyone listen very closely. And he's like, someone tell me what's wrong with my car. And he's like, I drive a 2006 Mazda Tribute. And he like puts his phone down and turns on the car. And all you hear is just like the engine going. He's like, "Arr!" And then he's like, all right, if someone in chat can let me know what's wrong with it, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't want to like lose money at the mechanics. And he just like hung up and left. And everyone in the chat just was literally just being like,
What the
everyone in the chat was literally just being like, dude, I think your problem is you're driving a 2006 Mazda Tribute. And then he's like messaging me about it, and he's like, yeah, that's honestly probably pretty fair. I'm like, well, yeah, like 16-year-old car.
I'm sorry I missed that one. I would have died.
No, it's all good. But yeah, so I think that's why people are asking if problems with your car. Phenom's asking. All right, play of the day. Rob, you want to go first?
I want to say that I think that I don't know if you agree. Alex Kerfoot's second goal reminded me of, I think they even said it on the broadcast, Wendell Clark's wrist shot. Dude, it was a nasty goal.
Mm.
Like really skated into it, didn't do the one timer. He had the two goals tonight. He's trending, he's confident. I think that's honestly I think that's his win tonight in terms of for himself, but also for the Austin Matthews play of the game.
I think that's a good pick. I personally can't really draw a comparison to the Wendell Clark shot. I've only really seen it on highlights. So
Yeah.
I think it's a high testament to what that shot was, especially if Gordon Miller and Mike Johnson are making that comparison, because
Yeah.
those are guys who would have definitely seen it for sure. So I think that was cool. It was a great shot. And the other factor that I think just plays into this being that play of the game, and I think it's a good pick by you, is like, it's not just that it was a nice goal, right? Like there's backstory to it, and it's the fact that this does give him that confidence boost. It does.
Yeah.
You get to see the puck go in the net, and it's a nice goal. It's not just an empty netter. Like it's a great one for him to get that under the belt, and it's a 2-goal game. Like perfect. I think that's a good pick by you. And it is kind of funny because just quickly on it, I was hearing Shane Doan talk about guys shooting the puck now, and he was talking about the fact that like the OG way of shooting a wrist shot is like, remember, like pull it back and then like weight transfer, and he's like, guys don't shoot like that anymore. And I literally listened to that like 2 days ago, and then Kerfoot scores that goal. I'm like, oh, I guess some guys kind of do. Like, yeah, but
you just think about how Matthews shoots versus that completely.
Yeah, because
different.
it's and he just leans on it and goes.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay, mine. I think it's got to be the pass that he makes to Marner made to John Tavares to get the streak and get it out of the way early. It was just, It was disgusting. Like walks through, walks around, makes a great pass to John Tavares, who like, where else would he be on the ice with Mitch Marner other than parked right in front of the net? Like that's where that guy goes. He lives there. So ability to finish by JT is great, but it was Marner setting that up. It's a beautiful play for him to be able to actually extend that streak. It goes a long way for his confidence, for the team around them to be excited and happy for him to do that, and for it to happen early in the game. Like, you're not going to sweat it out for the rest of the game in terms of like, oh my God, can he get this done? Like, are we going to lose it against the Ducks?
Yeah. And
B, like, that happens, it gets out of the way, and now the rest of the team is kind of like, all right, like, let's just roll. Like, that's being taken care of. Marner got his streak. It was great. Let's carry on. And they just rock and rolled the rest of the way. And yeah, that's going to be my play of the game. Like, trying to think if there was some honorable mention kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to say honorable mention to
played
Bunting.
The whole night. Actually, yeah, go
Bunting,
ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was thinking both actually. In terms of honorable mention, Samsonov two shutouts in a row, amazing. Had less than 10 solid, really, I guess, solid scoring chance opportunities where he just stood tall. That was one of them. But yeah, Bunting, the goal he scored was timely. He scored last game, but at the same time, it was in the front of the net. It's kind of like his style of goal. And I felt that also was really a positive note. And he's actually been on a crazy point streak right now. So I think
Nine
he's up
games.
to, yeah. So he's really, no, for him, like he struggled at the beginning of the year. And I think he also had an interview where he just said, I'm going to get back to my fundamentals, which is in front of the net, and that's where he needs to be, right? Not the biggest guy, but he gets position, and he did that tonight. Where off of the kind of, I think it was off of the rebound, he just kind of came to him from the side slash front of the net, and he just buried it, right? So that was an honorable mention for me.
Yeah. 9 game point streak for Bunting. And by the way, who shot that puck? Mitch Marner, one timer from the
There you
point
go.
from Mitch Marner,
Yeah,
and Bunting gets the rebound, buries that one. But yeah, I think that was good. Pierre Engvall also, by the way, threading the needle. I'm seeing Jason T bringing it up in the chat, threading the needle to Engvall on the cross ice pass. That's his play of the game. That was a pretty good one.
that
I
was
was
good too, actually. Yeah,
One thing that deserves honorable mention for me would be the TJ Brody goal for his first goal of the season. And a lot of it was watching the way Matthews drove down into the zone, bringing everybody down low with him, draws attention down low. And as soon as he gets down low, he hits the brakes hard, brings the puck or passes the puck back to the point to Timmins, who goes across to Brody, who steps in, shoots the puck. And
deflects
then
off the goal, off the skate, I think, or
the defenseman
um
skate,
the
and
defenseman skate. Yeah,
it's Nylander who's in front battling for net front position, helping that happen. So it's like there's a lot of just the right things going on with a lot of these
yep,
goals that are happening and stuff. And a lot of
exactly.
that is like I'm appreciating what I'm watching. Who knows what happens? Everyone can sit here and talk about how they're going to choke and they're going to continue to lose in the first round and blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe, maybe, but we're not there yet. And I'm appreciating what we're watching in front of us right now. So I'm,
Agreed.
I'm just a happy Leafs fan waiting to get my heart ripped out of my chest. um, okay. Grades of the game. Let's do grades of the game, then we'll wrap this up.
I think, I know I've been pretty positive. We've been pretty positive tonight overall.
Yeah,
I
we
think
have.
it's an A. I think it's an A plus. Like, yeah, yeah, we can talk about, okay, competition wasn't great, last place in the league. It's 7-0, guys. Like, what else? What is you gonna say about the game? I don't know how you don't make it an A plus. It's, yeah, they don't get me wrong. They had a little rough start to the first, but in terms of overall play, like, Kerfoot scored super early. Had the second goal pretty early. I think goaltending's definitely an A plus with the shutout. Defensive play was fantastic. There weren't a ton of penalties. Scoring, depth scoring, our big guys scoring. So it's A plus across the board for me. I don't know how you can make it less, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm just
Is there
like,
something, Zach? Is there something like that stands out to you tonight that didn't quite hit the mark? I'm just trying to think. Like, I really like, a little bit of, like I said, in the first period, a little bit of contentious kind of play, I guess, in a way. But overall, like for the entirety of the game, looking at goaltending, defense, and offense,
yep.
how do you say anything but 7-0? I don't know how you say it's gonna be an A minus, or I don't know.
No,
It's
I
like, for me, hard for me to decide anything different.
I agree, and I'm looking and I'm trying to see if there's anything I can even poke a hole in here. Like the only point, if you want to be real picky, is like they went 0 for 3 on the power play. But
Yeah, but they didn't really need it either, right? So,
no.
um,
And
yeah,
like I always remembered playing in tournaments when I was a kid. If you sometimes get in there and you just play a terrible team and you run up the score on them, and then always at the end of the game, the coaches are like, don't develop bad habits. Don't let this develop bad habits. A lot of times when we've seen the Leafs get in runaway games before, they've kind of had those sloppy plays and lost it a little bit with them. Lost it by the end of the game. You're not giving a full effort. That
Yeah,
didn't happen here tonight. It didn't happen
no,
at all. And you closed out and you got your goalie another shutout. He gets a back-to-back. You scored 7 goals. You had depth scoring. Your defense played well. You got pucks through. You heavily outshot the other team. And on top of out shooting them, you actually buried on those chances. You didn't even let this be an opportunity of like, are we going to get goalied tonight? Are we going to get Vamelka'd by Gibson? Like, didn't let
yeah.
it happen.
Didn't play down to the competition, and
No.
you bring up, yeah. Honestly, sorry to interrupt you. You bring
No,
up a
go ahead.
really, you bring up a really good point. Um, 5-on-5 goal scoring we've had a challenge with this year. So the 0 for 3 on the power play doesn't bother me, if that makes any sense. I
Yeah.
don't know. That just really stands out to me. And the shots, yeah, the first period was a little bit of exception, but there was just a lot of shots, a lot of different type of goals. Um, yeah, I don't know. We keep thinking we're traumatized, right? We keep thinking about the past, right?
Yeah, I
Like
know.
all
I
the
know.
times, like in the playoffs or earlier on in the season, where it's like we literally played the exact same team. We're the exact same team with injuries, and we look like a completely different team from the last time we played them on the LA road trip. So it's
Yeah.
almost, yeah. I don't know what else to say.
I'm going A
It's
plus
it's
as
it's
well.
all good.
I'm here with you.
It's all good.
And I
Yeah.
see people in the chat saying like Jason T is saying A because it was the Ducks, lesser competition. 6 1/3 saying A because Ducks. Like I
But how
understand where
but
they're
how is
coming
the
from.
rating because of based on the team that they
Right.
play?
And
I don't
you
know.
you can
You have
only
to give them a
play.
rating how they play, right?
Yeah, you can only play the team that's in front of you. Like then you don't decide who you get to play. So you got to come up and you got to have your A plus game. And to me, I think that that's what I think that that's what they had. I think that they had an A plus game here tonight. Another shutout. Oh, 6 1/3 also changed his mind and said, okay, A plus then after your
No, and no
persuasion.
real breakdowns either defensively. I'm just trying to think. There's nothing tonight
There was one
that,
breakaway,
yeah, there
but
was, but
that's
I'm
it.
saying there wasn't a whole lot of yeah, of just the issues, I guess, from a turnover perspective and defensively. I just not other than that, yeah, there was the one breakaway, but you can't. I mean, I feel sorry. Just one more thing, Zach.
No, it's all good.
They scored 7. They could have scored like 15, guys. Like, and I'm not exaggerating. Matthews alone was all over it, and there was Nylander's breakaway. It was like insane, guys. Like they could have had 15 goals, and I'm not exaggerating. Like they were destroying them. Like I don't know, it's the last place team, yes, but so close on so many goals. Just Matthews alone could have had 3 or 4 guys, right? Like let's think
Yeah.
about it.
Yo,
So it's a
I think I
positive sign.
found who in the chat is on the shrooms tonight. I kind of like it. I respect it, but they might be on the shrooms. Giovanni Genovese. Austin Matthews wins the Rocket again this year. The only reason I say he's on the shrooms is because him and McDavid has the same number of games played, and McDavid is 10 goals
That's
ahead of
20.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're just we're in December. Like it's not impossible. It's just like it's just very hard. And there's also a bunch of people in between them, and like it's not necessarily
Yeah,
like those guys are gonna
Robertson's
stop
there.
scoring. Yeah.
Bo
So
Horvat has 20 goals already.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, Robertson's been phenomenal.
Um. Also, before I let you go and we wrap this up, we need to figure out. We need to figure out what the hell this is being referred to. If you can please help me. Rick Ryan says the, and then it's a porcupine emoji, rested in the third. Who's the porcupine?
Porcupine. Okay, I'm assuming it's a Leaf player. Um, The porcupine rested in the third. Um, does anyone know? What's the chat saying? Can anyone help us with this
No,
one?
no one said anything yet.
Okay. Um, sorry, I'm laughing hard because I'm like I can't put two and two together with the porcupine. Um, who would be who rested in third?
Sarum is guessing bunting.
That's
Colin
a
is saying it's a
no,
hedgehog.
it's a hedgehog.
Who's a hedgehog?
Sorry, it's so random. Who rested in the third? I'm just sorry, I keep repeating myself. I'm just trying to think. I'm like, I
It's
really
all
can't
good.
figure out who they're talking about. Um, would it be Samsonov?
Colin
I don't
saying
get it.
Matthews. Oh, Rick Ryan saying it's a hedgehog.
Okay, it's a hedgehog. And who's a
Rick Ryan
hedgehog?
says Ron Jeremy, so he's likely talking about Matthews because of the stash. Well, why is he the hedgehog? So I'm gonna say that that's who that is. But who? Why is he the hedgehog? I need that
And why did he
explanation.
rest in the third?
Oh, he's just saying like he played less minutes in the third. I think he kind of
Oh,
did play
okay.
less minutes in the third. But I think that's probably what he's referring to. But why is he the hedgehog? That's what I don't understand. If you put like a mustache emoji, I would have got it right away. But I didn't put that one together. All right, real quick, I'm just looking. Yeah, Colin saying he mostly ran the third and fourth lines in the third period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colin saying Matthews doesn't care about the Rocket this year. He cares more about the wins. I would agree with
Selkie.
that. Giovanni Genovese bringing up a decent point about. Sorry, I'm saying Matt Bunting is our rat. That's a fair, I think.
Yeah.
Giovanni Genovese saying, what about last year? The other guy from Edmonton was 10 goals ahead of Matthews at this time of year. That is a valid point.
Is that
Like,
did we get a fact check on that?
I don't remember exactly what time, but it was around this time of year. And he
Okay.
was 10 goals ahead. So that's a
Anything can
valid
happen.
point. Because remember, he rattled off 50 and 50.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
It
that's
was in the
valid.
mid to latter half of the year he went on that run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
true.
fair. All right. Is there anything else that stands out to you tonight? Oh, one thing. It's not really like a discussion point, but I wanted to bring it up because it stood out to me and I was like, holy crap, I loved it from him. Holmberg driving the net on that one play where he drew the penalty. He got the puck along the boards, rips down the wall, drives across to the front with one hand on his stick, goes to pull it. He gets cross-checked from behind into the goal, draws the cross-checking penalty. What a play by Holmberg. Like this guy is maturing right in front of our eyes and becoming a legitimate player. Legit
Uh,
every night NHL player. It's so fun to watch.
so that I completely agree. So that's one. But the second one was this was blew me away as well. He picked up the puck from our end and rushed in, and he's fast at skating. This guy flies too. Like
Yeah.
there, yeah, it didn't end up coming to a pure scoring chance, but like he took off, and it think ended up being like a 3-on-2 or something. I'm trying to remember what point of the game it was, but I was impressed by how fast he was. I didn't realize he could skate like that, dude. This guy just picked up and took off. He was gone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, you don't need these little wrinkles, these little details that, when you have the opportunity to see him, defensively it's there. But it was very impressive how fast he was. I was blown away, to be honest. So that's another play that again, I can't put my finger on what it was. I think it might have been in the third, but I was just like, look at this guy just like flying, like, it reminded me of um, I guess like Kerfoot's pretty fast, Marner's pretty fast, right? Nylander, like it was like not there, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Like he just
Yeah.
took off, and I was just like, I didn't know he was that quick as well. And he's not small either. He's a bigger guy as well. not big in sense of like Matthews, but
Yeah.
he has some size to him for sure.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about there. All right. Anything else from tonight that stood out to you that you want to talk about, or?
No, that's it, man. I really appreciate you having me on again. It's a pleasure as always chatting with you. And yeah, I think we covered everything for tonight. Awesome game, another awesome game. Looking forward to the next game. As we mentioned, next three games pretty tough, but I think I
Yeah.
think we can pull it together, and I think we're going to come out on top. And we'll be optimistic and hopeful with Marner carrying a streak on, us continue our winning streak for at least the next game or two, and hopefully Samsonov as well. So we'll see what happens.
All right, sounds good. Is there any final words before you head off here tonight before the Thursday game? Any like inspirational, motivational, anything like that for the chat? Anything you got?
Inspirational, motivational. I don't have anything else other than what we brought up. I think it's been a pretty positive discussion, and pumped up for the Leafs. I think that's why everyone's here, and let's just keep it going, and take it game by game, but we'll keep on the trajectory we were on. Just defense first. Awesome goaltending, depth scoring, all the big guys scoring, and scoring in different ways in bunches. And let's keep it up. That's about it.
All right, sounds good.
Sorry,
Rob?
not that motivational, but
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I think we've kind of captured so much the team tonight. So again, appreciate
Yeah.
you having me on, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can have a chat. But yeah, no, it was an awesome game tonight, and great and a pleasure as always, Zach. I really appreciate it, and great show as always.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining, all the insight, the conversation. So thank you very much. Thanks for calling
Some
in,
good
Rob.
laughs too as well.
Yes, there were.
Of
Yes,
course.
there were. Many more to come. But until
With the
then,
porcupine.
yeah, with the porcupine, hedgehog, Ron Jeremy.
All right, buddy. Have a good
But
night.
I'll see you on Thursday. Have a good night as well.
Take
Thank
it
you for
easy.
calling in.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. There you have it. There is our post-game stream. If anyone else wants to call in as well in the future, huge thank you to Rob for calling in, being such a trooper. Huge thank you to everyone who's continued to watch here tonight. I mean, we've been on this stream for 2 hours and 10 minutes. It has been a fun one. This Leafs team continues to absolutely roll, going to 19-5-6 so far on the season. It's been fun to watch them night in, night out. Mitch Marner now at 23 straight games with a point. Like, this has been incredibly fun to watch this Leafs team do. It's fun to interact with everyone here. It's fun to have people coming on the show. Rob here tonight. Great job by Rob. Appreciate the insight as always. Appreciate, Gord, Luke, Matthew, Joe, everyone who tunes in, calls in the past. Calvin calls in the past. Like, appreciate everyone who participates. So thank you so much to everyone who called in here tonight. The Leafs' next game is this Thursday against the New York Rangers. We will see. Can the Leafs continue their streak? Can Mitch Marner continue his streak? Can Michael Bunting continue his streak? A lot rides on Thursday night, but as far as tonight goes, we do get 2 goals from Alex Kerfoot, Pierre Engvall, Joey Anderson, TJ Brody, John Tavares on the board. We get a onslaught of goal scoring. Ilya Samsonov back-to-back shutouts for the kid. He continues to rock and roll. This Leafs goaltending is some of the best in the NHL right now, going to 19-5-6 on the season with a 7-0 win over the Anaheim Ducks. Great win here tonight. Great stream here tonight. Appreciate everyone. Keep believing.